I had the privilege of growing up in a rural part of the country and spending all of my time outside exploring, building, adventuring, and that fostered a really deep sense of curiosity and resilience and adventure and confidence. I think all of which are greatly helpful when you're an entrepreneur, where you need to be resilient, where you need to have confidence and be positive, and where you're open to adventure, the ups and downs and curves in the road that takes. So, 410 Medical is uniquely focused on emergency medicine and critical care medicine. And I think it's that focus that makes us unique. There's not as much innovation in those spaces. And when I started, there were probably 4 or 5 of us in the company at that point, and we were all very bullish and excited about what this could do over time. Our vision was ultimately to democratize, the ability to resuscitate a critically ill patient. Yeah, there's been lots of struggles along the way. Getting people to change behaviors in medical practice or in technology or in any field of life is really a challenge for a new innovative company and product. So I think one of the unique characteristics of entrepreneurs is that they tend to be glass half full, like very optimistic people. It's of course this is going to work, right? Because if you didn't think that, you'd never start it in the first place. So I'm certainly wired that way. And I think one of the things that makes us different as a team is that number one, we are very clinically oriented. Our founder was a physician. The earliest core of our team were former clinical providers, current clinical providers. And so we think very clinically. The origin story is a really cool one, actually. I mentioned Dr. Peel. Mark is a pediatric intensivist. He continues to work clinically and has for many, many years at a large community hospital here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And in that role, he treats and sees a lot of really, really sick patients, as you can imagine. And many of those present with hypotension and shock and are poorly perfused and need rapid blood or IV fluids in order to be stabilized and survive. And Mark, over the years, watched his team really struggle to do that, to administer IV fluids and blood rapidly to patients that were crashing. And it was really that inspiration for him that led him to develop some ideas, at home in his garage. The product is called LifeFlow, and it's a handheld rapid infuser. And what it does is it allows a medical provider to rapidly and precisely administer blood or IV fluids to a patient who's poorly perfused. And so we often get emails or texts from our customers talking about a patient that they used LifeFlow on recently. And I think one of the ones that stands out the most, it was a young girl who had a tonsillectomy recently, and then a day or two later started spitting up blood. And so she was hemorrhaging and swallowing and spitting up the blood. And ultimately, her father, who was a paramedic, called 911.
What's the emergency there?
She's bleeding out. She had a tonsillectomy. She swallowed a bunch of blood. She spit it up. It's going to be a trauma. She's internal bleeding.
And they arrived quickly and brought the blood and were able to resuscitate this young girl with the help of LifeFlow. And being able to restore that perfusion quickly with blood in the field or in the ambulance or in the ED is absolutely critical for improving outcomes and saving lives. And that girl is just one sweet example of how that can save a life. We're excited that we've treated over almost 35,000 patients with LifeFlow, and none of that would have been possible without their early investors, and then more recently without investors like Catalyst by Wellstar. So with that, a group like Catalyst, and Catalyst specifically, brings investment, which is critical, obviously, to operate and grow the company, but you also bring creativity, you bring research support, you bring brand support, you bring collaboration within your hospital. So there's just so many things that a partner like Catalyst has brought and will continue to bring to 410 Medical and to other companies too. It's a really important role. We want to put in the hands of all the medical providers anywhere in the country. We want to give them the best tools for resuscitating critically ill patients. And our vision is to do that and do it with simple yet elegant tools that people are excited to use and ultimately save lives.